All right, day 5 was all about creating a framework for your future program that you're going to sell. So in day 4, we had kind of talked about grouping the different problems that students have. And now in day 5, we were asked to write some sort of objectives for each of these categories. And yeah, this started getting really into the nitty gritty. I needed a lot more time for this assignment. You really had to think about a logical kind of like sequence of the objectives of the topics you wanted to cover, and kind of like, what to teach to the student. And I noticed right away how my teacher brain went into thinking, oh, but for example, they're asking us to give to sell a program of say 10 sessions, because 10 to 15 sessions is kind of like a good chunk, right? That takes students 2 to 3 months to complete, and that's a quite reasonable time frame. And also when you sell that, it's still a reasonable amount of money than if you sell like a full year's program to someone. Yes, and my teacher brain went like, oh my God, I cannot teach everything in 10 sessions. It's impossible. There's so many things to do. And when I started setting up the framework, I was like, oh, I only have one session for, let's say, business emails or business idioms. How can I squeeze everything in there? It's impossible. So I kind of like really freaked out. And then we got we got some help about this. They were saying, well, this is sort of like a condensed program that you're first selling, and it's impossible to sell everything. And the student also has to do some work, before and after, of course. Part of me was like, okay, I can see the point, right? You're first selling some sort of a basic program. You can always make that a bigger program in the future if your student likes that, right? Because the basic selling idea is you sell a product at a quite okay price for someone, and if they enjoy your program, your style, then they will be willing to maybe pay for a bigger program in the future, right? That makes sense. Like this, people feel more comfortable, right? Like giving you their money. On the other hand, like the program was focusing a lot on, you have the objective of what you want to do in a class, and then you assign the students something to prepare for the class, and then you give them homework to do after the class. Now, in an ideal world, that works perfectly. This is what I believe is a great idea, right? You give the students something before the lesson so that they know what expects them and how they can prepare to not be thrown into the cold water. And then you get homework after the class to kind of solidify what you've learned. You were in class with the teacher, and then you go home. You have the time for yourself to go through things again and to recap. Now, in reality, because I have been teaching for almost 10 years, and I've been teaching business English over the last years, especially there, I've noticed that reality is that a lot of people these days are so busy that they have no time to do the homework or the assignment. And so I'm struggling right now with the concept of building a program around the fact that the students have to prep their lesson and then also kind of like recap it after. I fully agree it's the perfect program, but I'm still wondering how to convince the student that this is necessary and how to make them do it. So I do think that there has to be some aspect of like mentoring the student, showcasing the student how important the prep and the homework is, like making them aware that otherwise they will not get the full experience. And this is true for a lot of programs, right? Like any piece of information that you take in, it's just a piece of information and you still have to do work. And I feel like in a lot of things in our world these days, we're just consuming a lot of things passively, right? Like you do an online course, you don't take any notes, there are no exercises, you don't apply anything that you've learned, you're just absorbing the information and then you're like, yeah, I did it. Oh, but why don't I know now how to do XYZ, right? Oh, I've taken a course in SEO. Yeah, well, I never tried to, right? any copy that is, you know, SEO adapted. Of course, then you don't know how to do it. But this online program world is so passive. There's nobody who actively pushes you to do things. And yeah, it's just harder to really get through to the person, to really make them do something. I do think this is one thing that is easier if you give classes in person. If the teacher's really there, gives it a sheet of paper and says, this is your homework. I do think it's significantly more challenging teaching online. So yes, I will still have to wrap my head around how to do this. If you have any suggestions, if you're watching this, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what your experiences are in terms of assigning homework. I know it should be short, it should be really easy and digestible, and possibly, yeah, kind of like coach and mentor the student towards, you know, what should your study routine look like? When can you study? Because I do feel like a lot of people say they have no time. And I know people are incredibly busy, and I know certain students, they just really don't have the time. But sometimes it's also a matter of squeezing it in somewhere, right? Like I have been learning languages for over 20 years, and I often learn them in the first 10 minutes of my day. I just use an app for 10 minutes. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing, right? I've been exercising for a long time, and I also do that right when I get up. And even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, I just make sure to keep up a routine and to have something, right? So I do think that sort of kind of mindset is something I'll have to teach as well. But yeah, we'll see how this goes in the future. Again, we were just doing a framework in this day today, which means a framework can be adjusted to how your students and your niche responds, right? So this is the nice thing. If you don't fully prepare the full curriculum, because that's not what we did, we just had a bare framework. If you don't do this, if you just have the framework, then you can actually listen to the students and see, they didn't like that, or they don't need that, or maybe they really need more time on one topic, and then you can kind of like adapt and perfect your program for the future. Because again, this is a full teacher's journey. Okay, anyway, I would love to hear what you think of this. Also, if you find this useful, send it to a friend, you know. I'm really doing this because I want to get my thoughts out. This helps me to like integrate the content better that I'm learning, and B, I really want to share this with other people. The program that I'm doing is not that interactive. We have a Facebook group, but this is all like written communication. It's not super active, I will admit, which of course also, you know, that's because of the participants maybe. So I'm just hoping to like reach out to other people on their teaching journey and to connect with you and to just hear from you and to just kind of have some exchange to go on that journey together. So thank you so much for watching, and yes, I will see you in the next days. Bye.